Okay, so my name's Gavin and I'm the owner of The Fields Beneath, which has been a cafe we've been running in Kentish Town West for 4.5 years. And we recently chose to transition to all vegan menu. So we're halfway there. The last thing to go is the dairy. So we're dropping milk at the end of March. I suppose the first instance of caring about food and where it came from was I started reading a book called In Defense of Food by Michael Pollan. This was about, I don't know, like 7 years ago, or 6 or 7 years ago, which looks at how far we've come from locally sourced food, which is what everything used to be, and everything used to be organic. And it made me interested in the idea of organic and locally sourced food. And then from there, 2 years ago, my wife and I read Eating Animals, which is a book by Joseph something. It talks about mass farming in America, and we, from that, chose to reduce our meat, never eat meat when we were out, and only ever buy meat from farmers at farmers markets. Where we could talk with the farmer, and I suppose that really started us looking into what goes into the production of food. So we'd even go as far as asking the farmer, what abattoir do you use? And I think as a vegan now, and having spoken to a lot of vegans, it's just that journey that you take where you're almost in denial that, to begin with, you're like, I can't, well, before you go vegan, way before, you can't believe that this is true. And then you think, okay, maybe not my meat, not where I get mine from, it can't be that bad. And you start investigating and asking questions. So we'd ask the farmers, how are your animals killed? And you Google things like, how long do the calves get to spend with their mum and things like that. And eventually you get to a point where, or I got to a point where nothing was worth what has to happen to animals to eat them or their products. I don't think, for me, however good they taste, once I'd connected to the impact it has, it's not worth it. Fully going vegan, the inspiration, I think Cowspiracy really kicks us off. Like, Cowspiracy is a real kick in the stomach of impact of food and the impact you have on the environment, and it's environmentally focused, that film, and it makes it quite clear that if we continue the way we continue, then the planet is destroyed beyond repair as far as it's concerned. I watched Earthlings. It's like a horror film. It's awful, pardon me. That looks at the animal welfare, animal rights. And then we were in Guatemala. We watched a film about just the dairy industry, and just a 5-minute film on YouTube called Dairy is Fucking Scary. And that was just really upsetting. And so we went vegan from then. And then I've kept it up. I suppose the strength to refuse any middle ground. I think it is black or white. I don't think there's a ethical way to get milk out of a cow or to cut an animal's throat. So it's just completely flipped my approach to how I see animals. Like, I don't look at farm animals as farm animals. I just look at them as lovely as my cat, but they don't get to express it on a pig farm. Yeah, totally. It's like none of us liked whiskey when we were kids because we probably drank shit whiskey, and then at some point in your life, if you're lucky enough, someone will introduce you and kind of like push you to try a really delicious whiskey. I used to hate coriander, and now I absolutely love it. And I just think I probably didn't experience it in a good setting, or I didn't experience a good version of it, or I wasn't persuaded by someone who I trust. And we've got this power here behind a bar with all these customers who come to us every day for their coffee and their lunch. And we have the opportunity to, like, they trust us. That's why they come here. It's not just because we do great food and great coffee, but they trust us and they enjoy our company and the few minutes they get here. So when we first chose to go vegan, the plan was to keep it under wraps, don't tell anyone, just slowly start pulling things out of what we offer. So, you know, someone would ask, oh, have you got any more ham and cheese croissants left? And we'd say no. And a few days would go by and maybe they'd give up asking, but we just would never say anything. And I'm becoming more, I suppose, of an activist with veganism, so I'm thinking I can't avoid the opportunity to not just get people to have vegan food here, whether they know it or not. It'll be delicious, that has to be the case. But I can't avoid the opportunity to talk to them about everything that I've found out over the last 2 years that has led me to go vegan myself. Because I wish I'd gone vegan earlier, and I wish I'd known this stuff or given it the time. So we've got these customers that trust us, and I want to make the most of that and say, try this milk, it's delicious, but also, can I tell you a bit about the dairy industry? And I try not to do that behind the counter, and I do it all too often, and my staff get a bit frustrated because there's a queue forming and I'm trying to talk about calves and mums and babies and stuff. And like we're regarded as a very good cafe. We're one of the top coffee shops in London. Our food is amazing, and it doesn't have to what's the word? That reputation doesn't have to change just because we're taking a bit of cheese out of a croissant. So to start with, we've started just replacing ingredients with not vegan versions of it necessarily. I suppose we're just trying to, we tried to do it without making it really obvious. So all of our cakes are now vegan. We've lost about 3 recipes because we couldn't manage to make them without butter or eggs or make them any good. So we've dropped a couple of cakes that way. Our croissants, we found a baker that can do vegan croissants. So it's just taking the butter out and putting margarine. And yeah, the 30 for 30 offer is just to say, like, I get that changing something that you love is confronting. Like, why do I need to stop drinking milk? And veganism itself is really confronting because it's that initial, like, there's nothing, I'm not, you know, don't tell me I'm doing anything wrong. I'm just drinking a glass of milk. I buy organic, I buy free range and things like that. And I totally respect that. So I suppose this offer of 30 coffees for £30, but it has to be dairy free, is just a strong incentive to say, we'll save you 60 quid over the next month or 2, however long they take to drinking. Trust us, it's delicious. Try this one for free. Like you know, we've got bribe cards we've been giving out to people for years, which is just a free coffee. And that's all marketing is, it's just bribery. So this is just another form of bribery to say, we want you to look at something a different way. Here's 60 quid to do it.
When do you assume that it will become just a vegan place?
April the 1st was the initial deadline. And we're looking to do a massive campaign unrelated to this shop on Mother's Day, which we're trying to get nationwide, which will be giving out Mother's Day cards to people to raise awareness about the issue in dairy that exploits motherhood, which is what you know what happens. You can't make milk without making babies. So so the 26th we're going to do, and I've designed, and I'm scared to put it up because I've designed a massive poster. Well, I've designed a poster that I'm going to print twice the size of that, and I'm scared to put it up because it's on the front of my livelihood and Av's livelihood and all my staff. We all make a living from this business. So the reason to do a creative campaign is so that we don't fuck it up. Like I don't want this not to work for 2 reasons. Number one, I pay my mortgage from this, and there are 10 people that work here, and I want us to keep our jobs and keep doing what we love. And number two, if it fails, then what do? Go back to supplying milk and ham. If this doesn't work, I will likely sell the lease on the shop and move out of London and try something different. But I can't. There's no way I'm serving milk after March 26th ever again. Yeah, it's brave, I guess, but it's. I don't see it as brave. I just see it as like I don't feel like I've really got a choice. If I want to continue living my life to the values that I feel I have about them, you know. And it's not like I had no values a year and a half ago. It's not the case. It's just I didn't give the source of food and drink enough attention, enough consideration, or the necessary consideration to get to this point. It's not enough. It's just I didn't consider food and drink in this way. We're gonna focus on oats milk. The reason being, I suppose, coffee prices and margins of cafes are based on the cost of your ingredients, and milk is so cheap. There was, Cowgate last year or whatever the crisis was with the farmers, where they were selling it cheaper than it cost to produce. So cow's milk is cheap. Really good cow's milk is 75p a litre. Oat milk is 150 a litre for argument's sake, so it's double. Soy milk is triple. Almond milk's quadruple. So that's going to cost thousands of pounds a year more if we're just, which is costing at the moment. Our milk, ironically, we buy all of our alternative milks at the moment from our dairy supplier. So the guy that we buy our cow's milk from, we also buy our soy, oats and almond milk from. And our bill for January was double what it was for December, just because we're using so much more alternative milks. So if we want this to work as a business as well, then we have to protect our margin, and in order to do so, this is a good way to do it. So we're going to focus on oats because oats are cheap. There's 100,000 acres of farmed oats in the UK, if I remember right, and therefore and it's one of the cheapest grains. So we're going to go for oats. We can have organic oat milk. So if we get it right and it steams well and we can make nice pretty patterns in our coffee and it tastes good, then it's a no-brainer.
Any future plans?
Two potential future plans. One is open up more shops so that veganism is accessible and convenient in more places. Two is do my absolute best to inspire a new generation or whatever or the existing generation really. I'd love I've got a friend who has 3 specialty coffee shops in London, and he does amazing food and his coffee's brilliant and he's got the best equipment and his cafes are beautiful and he roasts his coffee at the same place I do. And I said to him last week, I want you to go vegan. I would love you to change your shop to be vegan. So I gave him a video to watch and I hope that can plant a seed. But so I'd love to do my best to inspire, but if I don't set up more cafes, I'd like to sell this one to a vegan person who would continue it running vegan and move to the countryside and set up a farm. That's sort of my I don't know how long the term dream it is, but I'd like to live in the countryside and have lands that I can grow things on and live with a community of people and bake bread and make hot food using food that we've grown on, there. Yeah, I suppose live on a commune. I don't know, that's like not a pipe dream, but it's somewhere in the future. The longest, yeah.
You're an amazing person. Whatever you choose to do, that's the right path.
Well, yeah, we'll see.